Just let me know.
Go
No,
ahead.
and I'll.
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
All right. Okay, and we are ready to roll, folks. We are so ready to roll, and everything's going good right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our segment TV Memories. This is episode, what is it? Episode 8, I believe it is.
Yes, it is.
Episode 8, Arknolia and the Doctor's TV Memories here. And tonight we're going to be discussing the lengthy, long TV career of one of the most beloved but yet let down. It's kind of hard to what. How do we put forth to this guy here? You know, how do we say it?
Well, basically, he made some positive contributions, but the negativity in his personal life really put a
big damper,
cloud
but
over it.
big big thick black cloud over all that. I mean, like to put forth, what he based all the news, all the news reports about him, and what he is currently serving time for has now overshadowed the long length of accomplishments this man has done. And of course, we're speaking, of course, about Bill Cosby, the entertainer who did comedy, TV, movies, albums, comedy albums, and lectures at colleges, speeches. He encouraged everybody to seek education over everything else. He encouraged many members of his castmates on the Cosby Show to do the same. You know, which everybody did a lot. Except for the exception of the one who played Denise Huxtable, Lisa Bonet. She would later went off and married Lenny Kravitz and have a well-respected mom. I mean, excuse me, a well-respected daughter who's named Zoe or Zoe, who, by the way, looks just like her mom.
Yeah,
Yeah, and of course, we're speaking of all the programs that Cosby has done throughout since the 1960s up to about 19 the 90s when he had that one sitcom on the CBS simply titled Cosby that ran from 1996 to 2000. There was also the Cosby Mysteries, which ran from 1994 to 95. I guess it was one season. We cannot forget the first time. We're going to take a look at all the TV shows this man has done here from start to finish. Starting with the drama I Spy, which he co-starred with Robert Gope from 1965 to 1968. I guess probably a couple of seasons it was on. I guess it was two or three. This was accomplishment for Cosby because Cosby became the first black actor to star on a network primetime series around that period.
right. And I believe it's hard to remember the premise of that show because I haven't seen it so long. But I think
Mhm.
Robert Cole played a tennis pro, and Bill Cosby was like his trainer, handler, whatever you want to call him. I
Uh-huh.
believe. Now, I could be dead wrong on that.
Yeah.
And they basically were sent to perform spy missions.
Yeah, they were. They did a lot of that kind of stuff. They also would pair up, I guess it may be, but with the start of what they called the buddy movie or the
Yeah,
buddy system as they started in sitcoms and movies such as that. We've seen that many follow through on many of that occasion there.
yeah,
And at that time, Cosby's album career and the releasing comedy albums was doing pretty well. He also released a lot of albums, like say his first one I remember was titled "Bill Cosby is a Very Funny Fellow," right? Question mark there,
yeah,
named after one of the skits he had on that album, particularly regarding Noah and the ark that he was supposed to be building and stuff. And also, he had a lot of good albums. Like I Started Out as a Child, Wonderfulness, Revenge. The first one I got from him, believe it or not, which
200
was
miles
really
per hour.
yep, 200 miles. The sports album, which was simply called Bill Cosby at that time, but it was often called the sports album. He also released one recorded in Vegas called For Adults Only, which of course had no curse words on it. And we cannot forget the 1980 movie and album companion titled Himself, which discussed a lot of things from childbirth to drugs, everything else, the way kids act and everything,
Well,
you
see,
name
that's
it.
the thing about Bill Cosby that's interesting is all the positivity, all the things that he did that were good,
Yeah,
and he was one of the very, very, very few comedians that never used curse words. And he tried
correct.
to set a role model, but unfortunately, his personal escapades overshadowed all of that and really kind
Yeah,
of ruined it, which is a shame. I mean, it really is.
which is upsetting because, this man was considered a role model. This man was America's dad. This was a man who told, as I mentioned, encourage kids to seek education other than doing the things on the streets. Yeah, but one time he even complained about these kids out there, stealing Coca-Cola, calling each other the N-word, doing this and doing that, and he just really went off at one point around somewhere in the 90s there, which really made a lot of sense because a lot of black kids at that time were doing exactly that.
Yeah,
And we cannot forget, and we cannot forget, the positivity that he spawned with the Cosby Show back in the 1980s. I mean, look how many years that series was successful up until about 1992 when it finally ran its course there.
yeah, and that was a very positive, uplifting show. And that's the thing that's really sad is that was a real positive show for a
Yeah,
black
it's
person. You know,
exactly because
well for all people really, it was just positive, and it's just a shame that all of this was ruined.
because it was spotlighting, not all black families had to live in the projects, not all black families had to be struggling. Like the one that comes to mind about a particular family that fits that role would be the Norman Miller series Good Times,
Yeah,
which started, James Amos, Florence Evans. It would also feature Jimmy Walker as J.J. Evans Jr. there. He really became a big star because of that series there, and he also had a lengthy comedy career just as well.
yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of positive shows then, and it was a good time.
yeah,
It's amazing because, like I said, that white people liked that show too because it wouldn't have been successful otherwise
yeah,
because they wouldn't have the audience, but they had a huge audience.
absolutely. I mean, like, I think it was singer Gil Scott Aaron who once said the revolution will not be televised. I can't, however, he was incorrect on that statement because in a lot of ways the Cosby Show was a revolution because look how many seasons, how successful that program was, and like every other program like Family Ties or Cheers that followed afterward were successful just as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I watched the show and I enjoyed it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't mind admitting that. I
yeah,
mean,
and we
I
also
hate what happened and I hate what we found out, but
and we
all in
know
all, you know,
and what really and we also cannot forget the program that followed it, the spinoff, A Different World, which started in 1987 to about 93 there. It would
right.
help spawn the careers of a comedian, Sinbad, who was another comedian who didn't use any curse words. I remember seeing HBO special of his work there. It also would have helped the career of Jasmine Guy, one of the stars of
Yeah.
that program.
Well,
And
when we talk about the curse words, I'm not a fan of curse words per se,
yeah,
and it's hard to find comedians that don't use them. But
yes,
then on the other hand, there are one or two that actually I like, even though they use the curse words.
yeah,
But by and large, it's nice to listen to routines that you don't have to sit there and go, "What did he say that for?"
yeah, that's true. Because a lot of comedians out there that Sinbad one time even stated that a lot of these comedians go out there and they're just vicious on this, vicious in that. Some of them will rely on this shock, like some things that Lenny Bruce often did at times. He often shocked his audience at times, just to get that moment of attention, to get that publicity at times.
Right, right. It There's very few comedians nowadays that are totally clean.
Yeah.
One or two come to mind. Raymond, I forgot
Hmm.
his last name.
Raymond. I don't think I've
He
heard
was
of
on
this
the
one yet.
Everybody Loves Raymond show,
Ah,
and I
I see
cannot
now.
remember his last name. He's clean, and Jeff Foxworthy and that bunch
Oh yeah, the
are
Ron
generally
White,
clean.
the
Him
blue
and
collar, the blue collar crew.
well, other than
Him,
Ron White can get a
Ron.
real rank,
Yeah,
and
as
Larry the
well.
Cable Guy can get
I
real
was going to
rank.
mention that as well. Get her done. That was a big phrase around the Richmond, Michigan area when I lived in there
Yeah,
for a
and
couple
then
of years.
the other guy, I wish I could remember his name. He was one
Yeah.
about here's your sign. Somebody'd say something stupid, and he'd
Um.
retort back, and he'd say, "Here's your sign." That
Oh yeah.
the one that said, somebody said something stupid.
Yes.
Boy, I cannot remember his name, but he's funny,
Ah.
and he doesn't use a lot of profanity.
I see. Yeah.
But we're talking Bill Cosby.
Yeah. But like I guess yeah, it's got to stick to that there.
And one big show that was kind of funny that it lasted, from 72 to 85,
Yeah.
which is like 13 years. But it only had 34 episodes. I guess they were showing two a year or rerun constantly or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but 34 episodes. I would have thought for 13 years it would have been over 100. But
Yeah.
I guess they rerun the daylights out of it. But
Yeah.
kids, to be honest, even when I was a kid, I didn't care if it was a rerun. I just liked watching it. I
Yeah.
could have seen it 100 times and I'd watch it again if I liked it.
Yeah. And now, other than I Spy, the Cosby Show, we also got to include the Bill Cosby Show,
Right.
which ran from 1969 to 1971, in which he played a gym teacher named Chet Kincaid. Was dealing with the staff with his school that he works for, helping students out here and there, as well as his mom just as well on the side. It was like a mild-mannered comedy when you look at it there.
Yeah. Well, he always kept it, I guess for lack of a better word, low key.
Yeah. And during that time, soon after that, there was a variety show he had called The New Bill Cosby Show, which is kind of featured Don Knotts, Foster Brooks, and a couple others as well. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know if that ran for one or two seasons. I think it was from 72 to 73, so it possibly had been one season if I was correct there.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't run very long, which is kind of odd. And he
yeah.
also, for a while, he did 1992 to 93. He did You Bet Your Life, which was the old Groucho Marx show.
Oh yeah, I think I
And
remember hearing about that. Yes.
Groucho and Bill Cosby were probably the only two that could handle that show because it required a heck of a lot of ad libbing. And both those guys were king, especially Groucho.
Yeah.
He was the king of ad libs.
That's true. And I'm also looking on the list now. There was a thing called the Cosby Mysteries, which also, I believe, one season. It was from 94 to 95. if I take it there. And we also cannot forget the show Cosby, which ran from 96 to 2000.
Right.
That was for a couple of years. And around that period, I guess one of the conditions to do this series, he would have his old TV wife, Felicia Rashard, be his co-host, in which she, of course, has said, sure, I love working with Bill. And that show was doing pretty well. And it was around that time that Cosby went through a real personal tragedy. His son Ennis was, I guess, shot and killed in some sort of a highway stop, I guess it was.
Yeah, as I remember the story, that's what the deal was. It's been a while since I heard that one, but
And a
yeah.
lot, let's not forget, Ennis was Cosby's only son. He often did in his skits, talking about his daughters. I'm always having all these daughters, having all these kids. I wanted a son. Eventually got his son later on, but eventually the son was taken from him at a sad pace there. And then later on, one of the daughters would end up having issues with drug addiction, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Theo Huxtable was based on his son,
Mm, possibly, yeah.
I believe.
And we also got to credit the career that the guy who played Theo, Malcolm Jamel Warner, he would have a lengthy career later on in the 90s as well, pairing up with Eddie Griffin, another black comedian. They did a series ran for a couple of years called Malcolm and Eddie.
Right.
Yeah. And I guess from what I understand, Malcolm and John Warner, he had some sort of issue with the how he was casted on the series there. I guess it was one of those. I don't know if it was a little bit more different than what he played with Theo Huxtable, but that series ran pretty well. I guess we'll say. I guess it ran on the UPN network, as it was called at the time,
Yeah.
if I'm correct, or the Paramount network. I'm not too sure there, but it did pretty well no matter what, either way.
Hmm.
And of course, we cannot forget one of his biggest contributions to the Saturday morning genre there, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. Now
Yes.
these were characters that I guess he knew while growing up in Philadelphia, and he mentioned these characters like Old Weird Harold, Fat Albert, Mushmouth, Rudy, or a couple others. You know, on various some of his other albums, like the one I mentioned, Revenge. He had a skit called Buck Buck where he talked about Buck Buck number one, and he go pile on one another and see who can break down the person, try to hold up those guys. And of course, the big Buck Buck champion would be, of course, Fat Albert.
Right.
Yeah, and of course there was a movie based on Fat Albert years later on in the 2000s, which of course featured Cosby himself making a cameo as well. And and I don't know how many seasons that show ran. Actually, when you
Well,
think
that was
about
the
it,
one that I was talking about a minute ago that ran from 72 to 85
yep, that was it. Yeah, I'm reading it right now. Fat
and only
Albert
had
and the
34
Cosby.
episodes. That floors me.
Yeah, because I think it came out. Let me look it up here with the story behind that. There, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. Yep, I remember seeing that there. It was animated series produced and created by Bill Cosby here, and in live action bookends, who also lended his voice to a list of characters, including Fat Albert himself. And the production company that produced it was Filmation, who also did He-Man and Masters of the Universe, the Brady Kids, featuring the kids for the Brady Bunch, and also the everything involving Archie and Andrews, whether it's Bicentennial Archie, the Archie TV series, I think it was called, you name it.
Yeah.
And also featured a lot of educational lessons in each episode. emphasized by Cosby's live-action segments, and at in the addition, the end of the episodes, the gang will join in with their North Philadelphia junkyard to do a song on their little instruments that they put together from the junkyard,
Yeah, I remember that.
summarizing the lesson that was taught on the later show, whether it's about don't mess with the policeman, he's only doing his job, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
there were a
plus,
lot of good.
a lot of good stuff there. It was a comedy, drama, and educational all in one there. And sadly, of course, who wasn't a big fan of that show? I used to watch that a lot.
Yeah, pretty much everybody I knew watched it. It was just one of those things that you watched back then.
Yeah, yeah, because it was part of the Saturday morning thing. Everybody was watching, stuff on the Saturday morning there.
Right. And like you said, it taught lessons. I mean, it taught positive life lessons.
Yeah, did a lot of stuff here. Now I'm looking on here, the Cosby Mysteries. It was a mystery drama that that he started in from September of 1994 to April 95. No, no, excuse me, 94 to 95. It was the first series since the Cosby Show went off the air in '92, and it only lasted one season. Actor and rapper Mos Def appeared in several episodes where he was credited under his name Dante Bees, Beze. There.
Right.
It was like a mystery. It's kind of like the Father Downing mysteries, which had Tom Bosley from Happy Days and Tracy Nelson from Square Pegs.
Yeah. And mysteries have always been a huge genre. There are a lot of them.
There were a lot of them. We also cannot forget Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. And of course, the Diagnosis Murder, which started Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. Those
Quincy
kind of
M.E.
Yeah, with the Jack Human, I think it was.
Klugman, yeah.
No, Jack Klugman, yeah, from the Odd Couple, the original Odd Couple series there.
Right. And then a personal favorite of mine, Columbo.
Oh yeah, and we call it. So what was the character that Dennis Weaver did back
Oh,
in the
McLeod.
70s? McLeod, yes, there we go.
He was a New Mexico native that got transferred to New York for some reason. I don't recall why.
Hmm.
But basically, he worked with the New York Police Department. He had the New Mexico thing about him. So
Oh,
it made it kind of a duck out of water.
yeah, exactly. Remember the Monday Night Mysteries on
Yeah,
NBC? I
yeah,
was thinking
had
about
that
that
one.
just as well.
Had McLeod, Columbo, and McMillan and Wife, which had Rock Suds and Susan St. James.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now the story behind the Cosby series was simply he played it. Guy Hanks of New York City, New York, NYPD criminalist, I guess they call it, who
Right,
retires from the force after winning 44 million in the lottery. His peaceful retirement was interrupted by his former colleagues, Detective Adam Soley and medical examiner, you know, uh, John Chapman, who asked him to consult on tough cases as Hanks uses his wit and his foresight to acknowledge to solve some crimes. He dealt with his housekeeper, Angie, played by Rita Moreno, who you remember who was an actress who starred on the Electric Company, believe it or not, which also featured Bill Cosby in a few occasional episodes. We got to throw that in there, which
right.
ran on the PBS stations back in the 70s. I used to watch that as well. And that course lasted one season on NBC there.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Forgot to mention the regular Electric Company. He did that for numerous times on that program there. And one of the big reasons I would watch, was for Rita Moreno, Bill Cosby, and of course the guy who played Spider-Man. I was big on Spider-Man at that time, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Massively big. My sister would tell you, to try and be like him all the time there. And of course, we also go to, of course, a different world,
Yeah.
which, of course, has started off as a spin-off where Denise Huxtable heads to college. I guess it was Harvard University. Now, this sadly, she only lasted one season of that because apparently she got pregnant. She was, I guess, I don't know what the deal was. She got involved with Lenny Kravitz, became a hippie just like him. Sadly, she would later divorce him because apparently he could keep his weenie in his pants for too long. He was apparently he was a cheater. She decides to leave him, divorce him. Lenny Kravitz will later go on and have a successful music career with "Are You Good Go My Way," "Let Love Rule." He would later release an album called Five, which
And he
he would put
covered
his
American Woman.
yep, exactly, for the Austin Powers movie there. I guess it was 1989. I remember the video for that song. Austin Powers star Heather Graham was looked at tremendously hot in that video, no doubt about that. And of
Right.
course, yep, that show he made a couple appearances in a different world just as well as Felicia Rashad there. Giving advice to a couple of the co-stars there, like who's the guy who played Dwayne Wayne? I guess it was I forgot his name, but
Actually, I'm not that familiar with that particular show.
hmm
I didn't really see it much, and it never reruns. So
I know I just only remember Jasmine Guy. She was who played it this Southern Belle who was at that college for a while. She had a stage career just as well, and I think she even released an album of her own, I believe, somewhere
I
around that
think
time.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to look it up here. Who started on who here? A Different World from 1987 to about 1993. There, it was aired for 6 seasons on the NBC network. It also featured Whitley Gilbert, no, it's let me hear, son of a bitch, Kadeem Hardison. Dwayne Wayne was the nerd there. He would wear these glasses with the flip up. That was one of the big things at that time
Yeah.
there. And inspired by student life at historically black colleges and universities. Apparently, she departed in the first season. The remainder of the series focused on the other Whitley Gilbert Wayne, played by Jasmine Guy, and Matt Wiz, Dwayne Wade, played, of course, by Kadeem
Right.
Hardison. It's hard to pronounce. You can't help but become confused by the way it's pronounced here because Hardison is often mistaken for Harrison at times,
Right.
but then again, that's my fault there. It also started Mary Alice. It started Charlene Brown, Cree Summer. It also started Jada Pinkett, who would later, of course, become actress her own right, and of course become the spouse of Will Smith there.
Right.
And also started, who, as I mentioned, another comedian who didn't use any cuss words in his routine, Sinbad.
Hmm. Yeah, he became incredibly popular for a while.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, he did this one HBO series, the one HBO special there, which me and my dad and my sister would watch it. We loved it like it was fucking funny as hell, man. Huh.
Yeah.
And also started Marissa Tomei in the first season there. And she would later become a well-respected actress in, I guess, a couple of movies there throughout the 90s. I guess My Cousin Vinny was one of them with Joe Pesci there.
Right.
And after the first season, it became clear that to the Cosby and the producers' attention that the series was not portraying a historically black colleges and universities on life on campus. So Deborah Allen, who also starred in the series Fame, if you
Hmm.
remember, when it ran on syndication for many years,
Right.
was hired as the chief creative force to revamp the show. During the summer of 1988, Lisa Bonet announced that she and her husband, Lenny Kravitz, were having a baby. Alan was in favor of having a young pregnant student on the show, but Cosby said that Lisa Bonet may be pregnant, may not be. It's hard to figure out what the hell happened here. It felt that viewers would not accept Denise Huxtable as an unwed mother, having
Right.
grown to know her as the good girl after 4 seasons on The Cosby Show, and was decided that Denise would drop out of Hillman College, return home to her family, and eventually travel to Africa throughout the fifth season of The Cosby Show, ensuring viewers that they would not want to see a pregnant Denise.
Hmm.
Allen was also in favor of keeping Marissa Tomei, as she recalls, a white student at Howard University, and wanted to see relate to that show, and he even had possible premises for Tomei's character, such as meeting Dwayne Wade's parents and seeing the other side of racism. However, Tomei left the show, and Allen and Marie Kashner were replaced by Cree Summer and Charlene Brown. Respectively, Daryl M. Bell and Sinbad were promoted to the principal cast. And also cast member support would later come from Gwen Turman and Lou Myers. These changes led to the replacement would put Dwayne and Whitney in the center of the program and a wider ensemble.
One of the problems that show had was the constant changes,
Yes,
because you'll see that a lot of times if a show lasts, generally it's because the cast doesn't change much.
yes,
Even Cheers, which lasted, I don't recall how many years, a
yeah,
bunch, they only changed cast members. Well, when Coach died, they put Woody in his place.
that's true. Yeah,
And
played
then
by
when
Woody Harrelson.
Shelley Long left, they replaced her with Kirstie Alley, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
And that's why that show
yep.
lasted so long, because
Apparently,
it was
Chrissy Alley, apparently, according to many others, Chrissy Alley had that somewhat of a funkiness that the Cheers would bring. She would bring to that program after Shelley Long's departure.
right.
Yeah,
They weren't. She wasn't a replacement. She was a totally different character, but it worked. I mean,
it
that's like I
did.
said. That's why that show lasted so long, is because it had a cast of characters that rarely, if ever, changed other than those two times.
Yeah.
Everybody
So I
else
guess,
pretty much remained the same.
yeah, everything was okay then. Now, apparently, I guess the connections to the Cosby Show developed later on. You know, A Different World had many connections to its parent program. And even before the latter program was created, a third season finale of the Cosby Show, entitled Hillman, was eventually a pilot episode for the new program. Now, the theme song for that was done by Stu Gardner. Bill Cosby and Don Lewis was also a cast member. And in the online interviews related to the 2006 Hillman College reunion, Lewis revealed that her being approached to write the theme song to audition were two separate events that occurred for a short time with one another. Now,
Hmm.
eventually, later on, I guess Aretha Franklin would later do the theme music for later seasons of the show.
Right.
And the song originally was performed by Phoebe Snow in the first season. Later on, as it states here, Aretha Franklin through seasons 1 through 5, Boys and Men, and Terrence Forsyth in season 6. Now, it
Wow.
also featured cast a couple of characters from the Cosby Show as well as Cliff Huxtable, Claire Huxtable, his younger sisters Vanessa and Rudy,
Right.
brother Theodore Huxtable, and of course grandfather Russell, played by Earl Hyman.
Right.
They all appeared on the different world occasionally here and there. And of course, Sandra, played by Sabrina LaBeouf. I
Hmm.
think, what am I pronouncing her name?
L- I, th-
Beauf.
I think LeBeau is right, or LeBeau. Could
Yeah.
be LeBeau because I think it's French.
Yeah, she was the only Huxtable child that did not appear in a different world, believe it or not.
Wasn't
Or
she
did,
the oldest one?
I believe she was, yes. Now, Deborah Allen, who was the director and producer of, is the real life sister of Felicia Richard, who we all know as Claire Huxtable.
Right.
She Ellen made only one guest appearance on The Cosby Show, playing an aggressive aerobics instructor who helps Claire slim down for this special occasion. Ellen would later appear in later seasons as a recurring role as Whitney's psychiatrist. Dwayne and Whitney often visited the Huxtable home in an episode featuring the revelation that Denise had married and would not be returning to the college where the different world was cast at.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, there was a lot of ties between those two shows.
A lot of ties there, believe it or not. And that sadly, for some reason, I don't know what it was, it was put on a hiatus and sadly never brought out of hiatus. It was put in a coma. It was taken off life support, believe it or not.
Yeah.
For some reason, they announced that they would not be coming back for some reason. We don't know. And of course, now we also got to look at Little Bill, which was a children's series which detailed Little Bill. And I guess it was kind of I don't know what kind of animation it was, but that they used for that program. It ran from 1999 to 2004, and I guess it was a kids program here.
Right.
It was a flash animated children's series created, of course, by Bill, and it was produced for the Nick Jr. network. There, a little thing that Nickelodeon had going on for a while for the younger viewers there. The show debuted in November of 1999. It aired on CBS as part of the Nick Jr. on CBS
Hmm.
from September 2000 to September 2002 as part of the Nick on CBS lineup there. And the final episode aired it on 2003 with reruns returning here and there, and the return of Nick Jr. on CBS in 2005. And it was kind of like it fell in the lines, I guess, with the Sesame Street crowd and the Electric Company crowd, I guess you could say there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm. Set in Philadelphia, the show centers on Little Bill Glover as he explores everyday life through his imagination. He lives with his parents, his great-grandmother, Alice, often known as Alice the Great,
Hmm.
his older sister, April, and his brother, Bobby. At the end of the show, he breaks the fourth wall by summonizing his day to the audience before going to bed. Sometimes he often talks to his pet hamster named Elephant. And then one of his family members says, "Little Bill, who are you talking to?" This was often a little catchphrase that would close the show each and every time. And many episodes contained two 11-minute stories, except for three stories. There were two episodes focusing on Little Bill's idol, Captain Brainstorm, and a special episode for Christmas, which was entitled Merry Christmas, Little Bill. Although he performs in the minor role of Captain Bill's Brainstorm, Bill Cosby appears on live action during the opening credits of this series, interacting with the animated little character named Little Bill.
Right.
And that, as I mentioned, ran from 1999 to 2004. And of course, we had to look at the new Bill Cosby show, which of course ran for one season uh, on CBS there. I guess it was, I mentioned it was it was a variety show there. It was an
Hmm.
attempt to exploit the widespread popularity of Bill Cosby, who had starred in that little sitcom, as we mentioned, I Spy, and of course the Bill Cosby Show. And it would also feature a cast like Pat McCormick, you know, Quincy Jones's orchestra provided the music, ongoing sketches as The Wife of the Week, adventures appearances by a person named the Dude, a man that was so impossibly so cool that no matter nothing whatever could phase him or cause him to lose his composure or coolness.
Right.
And the opening theme was done by Quincy Jones, and the track was called Chump Change. And it also featured a person I kind of admired for a while, Foster Brooks, who was often excited, who had this little gimmick as a lush when you think about it.
Hmm.
He would come on pretending to be drunk and telling all these jokes here and there.
He
I
used to
guess he
show up on
also,
the Dean Martin roast a lot too.
yes, I believe he also appeared on, I guess it was the Bobby Vinton show a couple times. I remember watching that as a kid as well.
I think so. There was a couple of shows he was semi-regular on. Like I mentioned, the Dean Martin roast, he was a regular roaster.
Yes.
Uh, he wasn't on all of them. Nobody was except for Dean Martin.
Now, sadly, it would met, sadly didn't the ratings for that show didn't do so well because it would often compete with Monday Night Football. It was
Right.
canceled after one season, and his performance in the series, Cosby did receive a Golden Globe nomination in 1973 for Best Actor in a TV series, musical, or comedy, and that was about it. And it only lasted one season. Yeah.
Well, actually, through his career, he won a lot of awards, and after he his cloud appeared, uh, a lot of those awards got rescinded
Yeah.
and taken away from him.
Wow. That is something there, man.
Yeah, which I can't argue with the logic there. I mean, based on what I read and heard about what happened and what he was
Yeah.
accused of,
Yeah.
you know, rightly so. I mean,
Man.
like I said, it's a shame because it tarnished what was a really good career up to that point. I mean, his comedy albums are outstanding. He was a very funny
Oh
man.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of those records, as I mentioned, 200 Miles, Revenge, Wonderfulness. I started out as a child. I had all those records. I
Yeah,
would love whenever during the summer vacations from school, I would listen to them a lot of times. I would laugh long
I
there.
liked
And,
his routine on Chicken Heart, which I thought was hilarious.
oh my gosh, that was one of the best ones there. That was the absolute best storylines there. Oh, he also hosted Kids Say the Darndest Things from 1999 to 2000.
Yeah,
Picture pages since 1974. There was a thing, I guess it was called Fatherhood from 2004 to 2005. And let's see here, there's a lot more here. The Earth Day special in 1990, the Bill Cosby special, which was going on since 1960, 1968. The Winds of Whoopi. I guess he made appearances on Captain Kangaroo, believe it or not. And of course, there was the Incredible Voyage. I guess it was, let's see here, the Incredible Voyage of Bill Pinkney, I think it is. Pinkney, I think, from what I understand there.
yeah. I'm not familiar with. See, some of that stuff I'm really not familiar with. Uh,
Yeah.
oh, another routine that was really, for me, really funny was to Russell, my brother with whom I slept. When you talk about him and Russell
Yes, I remember I had that
being
album
bad
as
boys.
well. Yeah. Yes. The stuff that they growing up as I guess from what I understand, him and his brother would had to share the bed while growing up as kids there, and I guess they don't touch me, you're elbowing me, don't elbow me, and each and every time they would wake up their father who threatened who would whip the belt on them both if he was disturbed ever again.
It threatened him.
Exactly,
And
that
then there
has
was
happened a lot of
there was
times.
him talking
Yes.
about getting his tonsils removed. That was a good one.
Oh yeah, I remember that as well. That was a funny bit there. Ice cream. He
Yeah.
wanted all the ice cream that he could get. He was a good boy. Oh, you could take my whole liver for a whole bunch of ice cream. And sadly, after that, I guess he never got the ice cream, I guess.
Probably wasn't in any shape to eat it.
I know, exactly. Yeah. And there was a character he did came up with later on in seasons of the Fat Albert series, a superhero known as the Brown Hornet. He also,
Yeah.
and also, he did a guest I guess he did what was called a fill-in host for Johnny Carson at the on the Tonight Show. A lot of times from 1962 to 1992. There,
Yeah.
I know when I guess I think it was during that time that during one I think it was before he became Cliff Huxtable when he would come out, and the applause he would receive when he would come out after his name was introduced was just tremendous, absolutely tremendous. I remember it. It would have to be about 5 or 7 minutes of applause before Cosby would do his opening routine for that program.
Well, if you could take away what he did, the guy would be an icon.
Yeah,
Right now we just remember him in disgrace for the most part, and
I
just
know,
reflect on the part that we reflect on the fact that he tried, but he ruined it.
I
I
know.
mean,
Because of this sexual fetish he had.
yeah,
When you think about it, I mean, like it's sad when you think about it. I mean, like everyone would agree, including yours truly here. What he did, that little fetish, that little thing he had going on the side, which was very dark. I mean, like how many women came forth throughout that whole story there? Oh, how many women? 75, I guess it was.
it was a tremendous amount,
Gosh.
and that's what makes the whole thing really sad. Is he had a problem, and
I He had a problem and he should at least gotten help for it. I mean, like, here he was encouraging kids, to seek education over everything else, educate yourself. He was giving all these lectures at colleges. I didn't believe he even got himself a PhD, if I'm
I think
correct
that's
for one
correct.
point. Yes, he often encouraged it. He also had a show called Kids Say the Darndest Things, which was a comedy which videotapes of kids saying this funny moment, this funny phrase here
Well,
and
it's
there.
actually a remake of an old Art Linkletter show
Mm,
from the 50s, 60s. I don't recall exactly when, but it was that period of time.
yeah,
And that was a regular thing with Art Linkletter, and Cosby just kind of did it too.
took that get it as well. It was a Cosby on CBS from June of 1998 to June. No, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. January of 1998 to June 2000. A revival was hosted by Tiffany Haddish on ABC from October of 2019 to 2020. ABC canceled the revival after one season, sadly.
Well, it's
Now the
kind of funny
host,
when you look at it. Is the original show with Art Linkletter was funny in its own right because the kids weren't trying to do anything; it was just the way they were.
yeah,
And
they would say
generally, that was
things.
true for the most part for the Cosby Show. But I think on the third one, the kids were starting to get a little hip to what was going on, and they were making stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Now I know for some. Hold on, let me step aside here. I don't know, it was my end of my internet here. I don't know if my internet was screwing up here, but for some reason, can you check my channel to see if my thumbnail, if I'm streaming well there?
Well, I'm looking now, and let me. Well, it's
It's going live, but yet somehow the image keep is not popping up for some reason. A little bit of that buffering sign going on here.
yeah. All I'm getting is the wavy circle.
I don't know what the hell is going on my end there. It says that I'm still live. I don't know what the hell it is.
That's kind of weird
And
because I'm apparently up, or am I?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let me go on open up get YouTube going here and see what the hell is going on here. I don't know what the damn hell is going on here. I don't know what the here. I'm got this. Let me open up another YouTube tab here, and it has my thumbnail that I'm using here, and same thing's going on here. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, maybe YouTube's got a problem of some sort.
I don't know. It's a internet or at our end or whatever the damn hell it is, and it's pissing me off because you know how I am. I expect everything to fall through perfectly when it comes to streams, programs, things being recorded for shows and here and there and there.
Right.
I don't know what the heck's going on. It's just having a hard time. I tried to see what was going on earlier in this broadcast, but it's messing up here. And I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. And I was possibly hoping to get Joe Blown in on the program here, sadly, but with all this going on, I don't understand what was going on.
Well, our hour's almost up anyway, but
Yeah,
still,
that's true. You know, we got to reflect on this. I guess we can. Now, Cosby, as you know, as a result of this being found guilty, he is now serving about 8 to 10 years prison time for all this. He's now officially legally blind. He is in his 80s now.
yeah,
And
it's a sad deal.
I know. And the thing is, if he does, if he is released in prison, all depends on how the court sees how well he does, how he serves his sentence well. Does he get time off, get let go for good behavior and such?
And even so, he'll never have his career again because nobody will go touch him.
I
I mean,
know.
that's over.
People, I mean, and when you look at it, it is incredibly sad.
Oh yeah,
And it is indeed heartbreaking to all the people out there who grew up watching his shows, watching his movies like Uptown Saturday Night, the sequel, Let's Do It Again, which he co-starred with Sidney Poitier, I guess. That was his co-star. That was back in the 1970s. He did a lot of movies with he did this one playing an agent of the devil called The Devil and Max Devlin. He
yeah.
had this a comedy called Leonard Part Six, which I guess didn't do that well. Ghost Dad, I guess that came out later on in the 80s during the height of the Cosby Show success. And of course, the Fat Albert movie, which came out I guess in the 2000s, a live action version of that iconic series there, which I guess, as I mentioned, he made a guest appearance in that movie as well. And it's hard to say. I guess, it's hard to not look at all the achievements he did on television with what we discussed earlier. You know,
And his movie career and his albums.
yeah,
It just it's a phenomenal body of work, and it's a very positive body of work. But
absolutely.
the negativity with his other thing
With
pretty
that,
much outweighs it.
you know, This is why we encourage everybody out there who want to get into the show biz, to make sure that you have whatever faults you have, whatever dark secrets you have in your closet, do something about it because if you become successful, all those dark secrets, your little dark traits will be revealed
Nothing
in
is
the end,
hidden.
no matter what. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing is hidden. Whether it's, saying a certain bad word here and there, or losing your cool, or saying the wrong thing at the wrong time there. Now, we've seen it many times with various celebrities, whether it's Michael Richards using the N word during after getting so peed off at these hecklers during his show there. I guess he got himself in trouble during that position, when he got himself in trouble by using that word, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess his career, well, he didn't really have that much of a career after Seinfeld. I guess he was going back to doing live shows. I guess
Well,
that's what I
Seinfeld was
understand
pretty
there.
much his career.
Yeah, that was about it. Him, Jason Alexander, and I guess Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I guess she had a
She
series
had a
that
second series, but I forgot what it was.
I forgot. So I think it was the continuing the adventures of so and so, Sydney. I think it was, for I
Yeah, I
understand.
think so.
Yeah, and I don't know if that series there was successful or not. Who knows?
I can't believe this, but I mentioned Raymond a while ago. I just thought of his last name, Romano.
Yes, Raymond Romano. Yes, yeah, and
It's
that
funny how those
series.
things pop in your head.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he
you
was
got to
another very
remember.
clean comedian.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind that many of the shows I was not able to see because throughout the whole 1990s, I was working afternoon at the restaurant job at that times, and I would get off at 11 p.m. back in Michigan there when I was living in Roseville.
Well, I'll just simply mention that Everybody Loves Raymond was an absolutely fantastic, funny show.
Yeah,
It was well done. Uh, it had one of my favorite guys in it played Frank, his dad.
yeah.
Yeah,
Brad Garrett as well.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
one other funny guy on that series there.
I'm trying to remember the dad's name. He was also the monster in Young Frankenstein.
Oh yeah,
Peter Boyle.
Peter Doyle.
Peter
Peter
Boyle.
Boyle. Yes, correct.
That
Yes.
guy was absolutely phenomenal in that show. He was hilarious. I mean, he was your typical cranky old man, and he was good at it.
He was absolutely. I guess Brad Garrett, who played it on that series, he was a cranky old man as well on that for what I understand there.
He wasn't he the brother?
I guess I'm not, like I said, I never really saw the series myself. I only heard about it from newspapers, magazines,
I
and discussions on
don't know if it's still on.
radio here and there.
I don't know if it's still on TV Land or not, but it ran on TV Land for a very long time.
Oh yeah,
And
I guess it was the Nick at Night.
yeah,
That's what it was called. And speaking of which, when all this thing with Bill Cosby was revealed, and when he received his prison sentence, I guess the reruns of his all of the Cosby Show, I guess they were
removed.
removed
Yeah,
from. Yes, they were.
yeah. Everything's pretty much taken off
I know
because of the stigma, and
that
it's
is.
in itself is kind of a shame because it means that the other stars don't get residuals that they would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I mean, when you look at all the people that he had worked with, I wonder what is going through the minds of Lisa Bonet, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Felicia Rashard, the what what is old Cat's Mother thinking at this point? The people that he worked with, like Deborah Allen.
well, the funny thing is, most of them act as if they were surprised, and I find it hard to believe they didn't know
Hold
what
on a
was going
sec. I
on.
got this phone. I got this phone call from Jacksonville, Florida. Let's see what the hell this is about. Go ahead. What the? Hello? Let's see what we got here. Silence.
Yeah, sounds like somebody. I,
Hello? I don't understand the language. Idiot. You're gone.
oh
Probably a
yeah,
wrong number. Some idiot. Some idiot for speaking foreign language here. I don't know what the hell it was.
hey, you get the fun calls too. Oh boy.
Oh gosh, I've been getting these calls every morning when I wake up here and there. It's like it's a 836 area code number. You try to answer it, it says, "Hello, my name is," and there's just silence, and it just hangs up automatically.
Generally, if I don't know who's calling me, I don't even answer. I figure if it's
Um,
important enough, they can leave a message.
you know, but usually, and you know what? I bet I have yet to check my voicemail because with no doubt it would be full of all these. Hello, you have been placed on our list to receive a trip to the Caribbean on this flight ride cruise here and there. We get it all the time. It's like nonstop,
Yeah,
nonstop. And the thing is, you try to block that one number, another number with the same area code would let you call later on that throughout the day.
yeah. It's funny how they do that. And they can spoof numbers, so you can't really. You got to be careful how you block numbers. You might block somebody you know.
Exactly. Who knows who? But yet, which is why I often was told when I was talk to this work consultant, about finding work, because I'm still unemployed for the time being. And it's just, they say, even if it says scam likely, calling just to say if it's a person calling here, such and such,
Right, right.
And but it's hard to tell because we got so many scammers calling every day of the week.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to tell anybody listening here that we're not doing anything tomorrow night. And then
Yeah,
Friday night, we're going to go back to music and we're going
yeah,
to explore the kinks. We'll
yep,
see how far we get with that.
yeah.
And then we'll be back to Monday. We'll do, I guess at
Our
this point,
movie madness.
yeah. And we
Yes,
just
and
got to think about what movie we want to do.
we
And
gotta talk about here whether it's good, bad, or whichever.
yeah, because we're not going to restrict it to bad movies. We'll occasionally cover a movie that was good for some reason.
There was a movie that I'm thinking about we should talk about. It was a sci-fi movie. It came out in 1970. I guess it was 78. I remember. It starred Richard Dreyfuss. It was about the UFOs there, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, that was a good movie.
We got to talk about that movie without a doubt, man.
Yeah, that was memorable.
Very memorable. The special edition, it came out years later afterwards, which we remember seeing.
Yeah,
Wow. Definitely got to talk about that
it's been a long
movie
time
there.
since I've seen it, but I definitely still remember it vividly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what, because at that time when that movie came out, along with the original Star Wars there, now christened Episode 4,
Right.
that got me into science fiction massively. That got me into science fiction everything. Whether it's a sci-fi series or a movie that would came out, there was some that came out after a lot of cheesy movies that came out after the success of the first Star Wars there.
Well, it's kind of like the boom in the 50s, 60s, and 70s of a
Yeah,
bunch of just, well, for the lack of a better word, cheesy science fiction with cheap effects and, in some cases, incredibly dumb stories.
yeah. I think I mentioned this to you before. The original black and white Flash Gordon series.
Yeah,
Me and my dad used to watch that a lot of times. I guess it was on the Saturday nights, if I remember. We would watch that.
yeah, there was a lot of actually pretty decent cereals back then. They had
Absolutely.
like there's a couple of Dick Tracy cereals,
Yeah.
um, several Batman cereals, a couple of Superman ones. Uh,
There was some from the 1930s. I was watching some of those back on YouTube there, believe it or not.
yeah, and it was like Commander Cody. Forget the name
Yeah.
of it. Um, and just a lot of pretty decent, fun type serials to watch, where you'd see something at the end of it that looked like certain disaster, and then when they
Yeah.
started up the next one, you saw the certain disaster. Somehow he miraculously got out of it, and he was
There was
okay.
there was another there was one I remember called Tom Corbett Space Cadet, which
Yeah,
yeah, that was it was in TV, radio, books, comic strips, and other media forms in the 1950s there.
right.
I remember
There was a lot of them from
watching.
the 50s and 60s. I wished I had a list of them, but there were a lot of them.
I know. One of these days we got to have a special edition on the sci-fi on the genre, which really elevated in the movies, TV series that really took off after the success of the first Star Wars. There, we
Yeah,
got a spotlight on that sometime soon. There,
yeah, we'll have to do that.
absolutely, man. So, I guess this wraps up our look on the TV career of Bill Cosby. There, well, I guess we covered all that we needed to cover there.
Yeah, and
Yep.
again, thanks for the memories, but phew, heaven, that was bad what you did.
Yeah. I mean, Bill, wherever you are, you should have had this problem taken care of long, long time ago, man.
Yeah,
Because look where the hell it got you now, man. Now look at you.
yeah,
And I guess that concludes our show here.
yeah, I
And
think
wait a
so.
minute. Wait a minute. An error occurred. Please play back. It says here.
Hmm.
Because the stream on the other end is, it's still running there. I guess it is. It's still doing pretty good here.
Well,
But
you
the
looked good on
YouTube,
your channel.
yeah,
I
exactly
just
there.
looked.
Yeah. And it's still streaming. So I guess I don't know what the hell's going on with the Wi-Fi that's going on our end because there was a couple of issues earlier this on that we had afternoon there with my brother-in-law and sister watching their programs, and of course I was having trouble trying to waiting for things to pop up, whether it's on YouTube or Google Chrome here and there. I don't know what the hell is going on our end. You know, we'll figure out what. Hopefully, things will be better on. I guess it is.
Okay, remember we're doing 6 o'clock Monday through Friday, except, except for Thursdays, and it's
When,
Central, 7 o'clock
yeah,
Eastern.
yeah, exactly. Arknolia and the Doctor will be doing our, as we mentioned, our music shows on Tuesdays and Fridays, our TV memories on Wednesdays, and on movies, it's our movie spotlight on various movies here and there on Mondays.
Right.
And tomorrow night, I'll be live here at the same time at 6 p.m. Central with the Real as Fuck TV with both Minnesota Vikings fan and Minnesota Silver Roll Hunter. And of course, either Redneck, I guess, and a whole bunch of others calling in, I guess.
And no particular subject, just whatever comes up.
Yeah, it's an all-out show here and there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Arknolia and myself, this is, of course, Arknolia and the Doctor episode, episode 8 of our movie TV series here. Excuse me, I'm fumbling like damn hell, man. My apologies, everybody here. I gotta do something about that, man. But everybody, thank you for watching this. And Arky, I will talk to you this
Friday.
coming Friday. Correct.
Sounds good. Talk to you
And we
then.
will. All right. You have a good one, man.
All right. You too.
All right. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.